2, 1. Welcome to another episode of On Beat Off Script, where we're going to continue to do the thing where we keep introducing kind of each album individually. It's been a tough thing to record this all in one go, but then also still keep it consistent for like the Spotify thing. I've got to be completely honest with everybody here.
I know. Yeah, it's weird.
But either way, we're going to jump into Bon Iver's sABLE fABLE. Bon Iver, American indie folk from Wisconsin, headed by his singer-songwriter Justin Vernon, who's kind of been really all of Bon Iver from the get-go and just continued to add kind of people to the band as they've kind of go through. They've been putting out records since 2007. They're well known for just being like a very intimate folk rock. Like it is very intimate. You know, a lot of people, you'll have heard a lot of the songs once I get to the end of the introduction. I'll tell you about the places that you probably heard them because you might not have even known Bon Iver had anything to do with it to begin with. They're really well known for using a lot of very experimental techniques in their sound, from going all the way acoustic to like really electronic soundscape like style stuff. Their debut album, For Emma, Forever Ago, was released in 2007 and started to get big acclaims from reviews like Pitchfork. And it kind of snowballed from there, having the song Skinny Love from said album, along with other tracks, show up in television. If you were watching any kind of drama television in the late 2000s, you heard Skinny Love on one of them. I think it was on One Tree Hill, Chuck, Grey's Anatomy. Like, it was on everything that was big at the time because it was such a soulful folk song, and it just kind of it blew up in popularity. That kind of blew them up. They then dropped their self-titled album in 2012. They won Grammy for Best New Artist as well as Best Alternative Album, and were nominated for Album of the Year in 2017 with their release 22 A Million, again the Best Alternative Album, and then finally nominated for Best Outright Album in 2020 with I. sABLE fABLE is their 5th studio album. It was produced with Jimmy Stack, which he's worked with a lot of people, and specifically like alternative names like Empress of, Charlie XCX. So coming from that alternative sphere kind of area when it comes to the production, kind of got some of the best for this album as well. This album kind of comes as 2 albums, sABLE and lowercase f, all capitals able. So sABLE fABLE. And it's really kind of, sABLE is a lot more of kind of a darker, more eerie, kind of early style Bon Iver styling, right? Where it's very acoustic heavy, a little bit less in terms of adding that electronica presence to it kind of throughout. But then it switches over into fABLE, which is kind of a little bit more of a pop take on all of it, with a lot, again, kind of that electronica soundscape styling behind Bon Iver and Justin Vernon specifically's really intense vocals and really, again, intimate kind of songwriting with it, which I think was a kind of a really cool take, and we'll dive into it a little bit more. But before we go by the track by track, do you guys have anything to add about Bon Iver?
It's just kind of like my reintroduction to Bon Iver. I really only heard like Skinny Love, and it's been an artist that I've always been like, I've got to go back and like listen to more of like this work, and I've just never gotten around to it. So for me coming in, this was a really cool experience, but I have, any nods to previous works are going to be totally lost on me. So, go ahead and give me some grace or rant about it in the comments, whatever you prefer. Like, I'll roll with it,
That'll be more of a Mel thing to go over, because Mel, you did like a full dive on the whole discography.
So
in anticipation for this album.
I love this man so much. Since I was like a 16-year-old high schooler when like Skinny Love dropped, my life was changed. So yeah, this has probably been the album I've been most excited for to drop so far this year. And yeah, I was so hyped up about it that Friday I literally listened to like the entire discography, and 22 A Million's my fave, and I listened to that one twice just because I missed it so much. So yeah, I was so fucking pumped.
I love that. I love it. Without further ado, though, let's start talking about the music itself. Starting off with the opening EP, if you want to call it that, sABLE, which, again, kind of comes from this little bit darker place. It starts off with the track Things Behind Things Behind Things.
Well,
Which-
no.
Well, no, it doesn't, because if it did,
We're forgetting the opening.
ellipses.
Dot, dot, dot.
Mel, do you want to discuss that? Because I clearly missed putting any notes down about it.
I think Rose was upset about it.
I was
so
very upset about it. The only note I put was my tinnitus is calling. Like, y'all flashbanged me for this episode between throwing me this, like, out of nowhere after suffering the Bruce Springsteen that we talk about in the next, I think, episode that you guys get. like I was not ready. It did not put me in a good place when we started the album. I was not ready for it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was so confused because I definitely just completely skipped over this track. I listened to it obviously, but I didn't write any notes about it because it was literally just an opening with. You're right, just a ringing in the ears.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
whole
I
way
literally
through.
was just like, I'm gonna hear this for hours now. Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I-
What's the name of the track? I genuinely
dot,
didn't
dot,
know anything.
So I've just been saying
oh.
ellipses, but I don't
Yeah,
know if he
that-
prefers it said a different way or
Cool.
not. But
Yo,
I
Bon
don't-
Iver, if
yeah.
you listen to this or see it or however you end up seeing this, apologies, I forgot about one of your songs.
tell us in the
Entirely.
comments how to say it.
I mean, to be fair, it's like a 10-second sound effect, so I think it's forgivable.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Yeah, it did really like blend into the first like actual track, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
We already talked about how I feel about transitions between songs,
Right.
but was not ready for the tinnitus hit. You know.
So putting that thing behind this thing, we now have things behind things behind things. Let's move on and let's hear a little bit about it.
And when it comes a time to check and rearrange shit, there are things behind things behind things. And there are rings within rings within rings.
So, pretending like that last track didn't exist, I'm going to talk about my notes. I think this is a beautiful opening to the album.
I did put I forgive you was my first note. I said it's got like this very it almost feels like this like ethereal kind of sound bath. Like it's very rich, it's very lush. I love the almost like vocal and like voice effects that they get with some of these instruments, with some of these like bends and slides that they do, almost like it's kind of calling back to our main vocals that we have. Like very, very well done. I did say, because I am essentially just like a 13-year-old in my head, that when I was sitting there writing a note down, and all of a sudden the only word I picked up out of the line was nudes, that I had to stop so I could giggle for a second and then go back. But it just kind of caught me off guard. So it really just hit that little like itch in my brain to like laugh at funny, stupid things that you laugh at when you're like 12. But I really enjoyed this one. This was really good.
yeah, he's always done such a good. He's always made his music so relatable for me. Like the way he talks about his anxieties and trauma, just like it hits me really deep. I thought also the way he repeats things in threes throughout this, I thought was so cool. It felt compulsive, but also like he was like a religious studies major, and like 3 being a perfect number seemed really fitting. Like past, present, future. Like I felt like it was a nod to just like
That
of time,
and,
of life,
Trinity
birth.
and, like,
Yeah, the Trinity.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like birth, life, death, past, present, future. I thought that was really well done. And the rings within rings. Like he really is like really deep diving into his personal traumas in this album. And I thought that was just such a simple way of saying like, yeah, you have to like get rid of all these layers. You're not going to just like fix yourself like on the surface. And I loved it. It was so pretty.
Well, and he made
So
Rose's ears ring within ring within ring.
Yeah.
The apparent opening 10-second stretch.
To his credit, I will say that I appreciate that the tinnitus he gave me did kind of match the soundscape that we had. It was at least kind of like in tune with it, you know. It was a very nice apology letter.
For sure. This honestly, like this, I love the minimalistic beat. Like there is still a beat in the background. Whether or not you pick up on it genuinely depends on whether or not you turned up your headphones enough. Like it was so subtle in the background of everything, which isn't unusual for Bon Iver. I thought it was really, really tasteful though in like the opening track of this. Like it wasn't designed to be anything other than kind of a ballad, but still with at least some sort of tempo. Like it still wants to like show kind of some sort of progression, some movement through it, which I liked a lot. The light mandolin in the background kind of gave it like a lot more of a grassrootsy kind of sound to it that I really appreciated as well. Again, really kind of still holding on to those old Bon Iver folk roots without any of that, again, kind of electronica stuff that we're going to end up seeing a lot more of as we move forward through the double EP, I guess you can call it. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But his deep voice over like such a emotional breakdown, I think is just really special that Bon Iver does so well. I think they characterize one another just magnificently. It's beautiful. It is just beautiful. I can appreciate that so much. Listening to the song like gave me, as a Canadian boy, like a big City and Color style stuff too.
I love Dallas Green so much.
You know, like it's just like it still feels, and Bon Iver has always felt like just kind of one small step to the left from that too for me. And I mean, City and Color, Dallas Green is one of my favorite artists of all time. Probably always will be. So like Bon Iver plays directly into that kind of similar hand. There's very little that I can say bad about the man.
I'm pretty sure City and Color, us bonding over City and Color is the only reason we're friends.
Yeah. Well, it surely isn't the way we treat one another. So
I know, exactly.
Yeah, the sibling dynamic is really hitting with y'all sometimes. Like
It was like, holy shit, we have this in common. This is incredible.
But that takes us over to Space Side, and this kind of opens up with a little bit of a higher tone, which we're gonna hear right meow.
I can't rest on no dynasty. Yeah, what is wrong with me?
Mel's getting classy.
Man, I'm so sorry. I got the best of me. I really damn been on such a violent spree.
I felt like this song was a direct call out for everything I've done wrong in my life.
oh my god, the one thing I put was like, there's a lot of darkness and recognition here, ... Didn't need that today.
I know, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, now I'm sobbing.
You guys are both getting classy.
Well,
God.
it really pulled a little bit like on the heartstrings. It really just felt very like poignant, like almost remorseful at times is like one of the words that kind of came to mind listening to it. And I like that like the vocals are up in that like higher, almost like veering towards like kind of keening, like, you know,
Yeah.
I think it was really well done.
Yeah.
This was another gorgeous track. These were back-to-back gorgeous tracks. I like the fact that they actually removed all of the rhythm on this one too, so it was just acoustic guitar and him singing. I thought that was...
And this is showcasing, I don't mind if you put two slow songs next to each other. I just need for it to do something, and it was so well done.
It really is. There's this light kind of string section that does kind of come in around the midpoint of the song that just adds like just the kind of a little bit of an extra dimension to it. But again, just really going with that minimalist style, again, that Skinny Love era of Bon Iver that I think is just, it's timeless. It's beautiful. It speaks so much to people. And it's one of those messages that just continues to kind of go on forever and ever. Again, it's actually a relatively short song too. It like, I think just over 2 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me. But I think it was just over 2 minutes. Super simple, short and sweet. there's not a whole lot to need or want from it, like, whatsoever. Like, it is just like kind of this really quick soliloquy of like apology, kind of all at the same time. And I thought that it was beautiful. There was so much depth in the lyrics without needing to use line after line of ways to try to convince people. It was genuine. And
it was
when it comes to a lot of music
too.
It's super vulnerable and super genuine. And again, a lot of music just doesn't really have that. There's a lot of vulnerable music out there that doesn't come with the same sense of genuineness that Bon Iver does. So I thought this was, again, just a really, really beautiful, fantastic track.
Well, and it was so powerful too to like form kind of like the theme of what you're about to go through with the whole album. I mean, you know, you go through, you know, it's a little darker, a little heavier, like lyric wise, and then it's very, very open, very raw, very kind of vulnerable, but that genuine thread really just pulls you in a little closer and makes you listen in such a way that it just really feels like it's leading you somewhere and preparing you for that journey.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah, this one like literally was like a punch in the gut for me. I thought the self-awareness at the end though was such like a cool like step towards the healing that we're going to get later. And then I needed to understand what Speyside meant. And I didn't realize it's like it's an island in Scotland. And he like wrote this in Key West when he was like isolating down there, I think in the pandemic. And he just didn't want to name it Key West. So he picked like an island in Scotland, which I thought was so interesting. I think it also is a whiskey, but like it was like so interesting. I was like, okay, that works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, what the fuck is a Speyside? I love this song so much. I need to understand.
I didn't know that it was based off of a different island. I know where Speyside is, but I didn't know that.
Idea.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No
He's
idea.
like, I didn't want to name it Key West.
But you know what? Honestly, if you had named it Key West, I feel like that would have detracted from my enjoyment a little bit. Just because it's very antithetical to what I think of Key West.
100%. But yeah, great song. Love it.
That takes us into something that I think Bon Iver after this album should be looking forward to, and that's awards season. And
buddy.
let's give this a spin. I have a lot of all caps notes on this, and I'm sure you can probably understand exactly why. Let's throw that on.
Oh, just take my hand,
I'm gonna cry.
place it on your blade, and let it wash away. With you I will remain.
Like actually crying. Whew.
So whilst we let Mel collect herself for a moment, I wrote a fucking sax baby, fuck yes, fuck yeah. And a fucking church organ, goddamn yes, I love this.
Yeah.
I apologize. I usually don't swear on these, but I swore in my notes, and I think I needed to lighten the mood for just a moment because
Thank you.
obviously it's beautiful. I mean, through that point, it's still beautiful, but like it's just a gorgeous song. It opens with that solo, and he's such a poetic lyricist. And so the words that come through just keep you completely engaged, even though it is really just kind of just a solo, hard on my sleeve. I'm putting it all out there right here, right now. It has this light piano that kind of just pokes in to close out this side of the double LP, which is really nice because this is the last track for sABLE on this end of things. It's beautiful. And again, it throws in a sax. Being a sax guy, love the sax. I always love an organ. It's just those two things are always going to play in. This alone, I had to make sure that I noted this alone as an EP. If sABLE by itself just got pressed, I think it's exquisite. I think it is, honestly, in my opinion, it's a 10 out of 10 3-track piece. It is beautiful. It is yeah, I can't get over just how awesome it is. And then it pulls everything back out for like a solo outro, and the way that it came in is the same way that it goes out, and I think it was just special. It was raw, almost unproduced, and it just seemed like it was Vernon sitting alone in his basement studio recording this, and I thought it was just magical. It was really really fantastic.
Yeah, for me, I wrote, I love this almost kind of like gospel-y take on it a little bit. You get like some elements of like your classic like gospel tunes, some like praise like music, and the sax solo and everything just really like took my breath away for a second. But I also, it's such a simple thing that he does in this, where it's very open at the start because there's not a lot going on. It's also still very vulnerable and raw, what he's saying, sharing, and it ends as the piano kind of fades out, mimicking the voice to kind of help paint this picture.
Yeah.
And then it ends for a moment with just nothing but his voice, and there's just like this openness that you're left with. And then even though everything comes in and so richly, densely scored, the fact that everything is still so open in tonality, you've got these very open chords, that just that picture and that energy that brings as you're hearing all of this stuff about wanting to resolve like past issues and trauma, and talking about guilt and blame, shame and remorse, to have this hit like moved me a little bit to tears the first time I heard it, because just it was so powerful in how it was done. Very, very masterfully done.
Bon Iver now being sponsored by Kleenex.
Yeah, right.
I didn't bring any tissues, man. I need them. Yeah, I fucking love this song so much. Again, we have that like hopefulness, but it's still, being like very raw. I loved the stripping away of the instruments at the end. Yeah. As a graphic designer, I need to point out how much I loved the creative, like the art direction on this entire project, though. Like sABLE being like a deep black color, the way he did his color schemes on the EP, where it was majority black, salmon middle, and then he flipped it for the full release because it got hopeful, was fucking masterful. It was just two colors, and it conveyed so much. And yeah, just as a designer, I need to like throw a nod out to that, because it really showed in this track for me specifically as it transitions to what it's going to be. Yeah. Loved it. Perfect.
No. Well, now everybody can put their tissue boxes away for just a couple of moments.
Jesus.
And we get to switch over to fABLE. And fABLE is where we start to get a little bit more to that more modern style Bon Iver electronica kind of vibe to it. A little bit poppier, a little bit up tempo. Let's save our tears for another day and listen to some short story. First track off of fABLE.
I love when Bon gets falsetto-y. It makes me so happy.
So this is a really short track. I kind of appreciated that with it being called Short Story. I thought that was a really cool spot with it. Again, this is obviously a lot more electronic influence there. You're getting the filters on his voice and stuff like that here now. Like, this is a more modern version of Bon Iver. It's short and quick. It's got the poppier beats. It's basically everything that I told you that fABLE was going to be. This is where we are. It obviously gets a lot more in depth as we go on, but this song just being so short, there's not really a whole lot more to say about it on my end, but you guys, I'm sure, probably have something to say on your side.
I said it was a really good way to kind of wrap this transition into fABLE. Seeing like, moving from disc 1 to disc 2, basically sort of aesthetic, and the fact that you're willing to keep that energy and continue moving it forward without drawing it out too much, because we did just have such a good lead in with our previous songs.
Yep.
I thought it was really well done. I didn't really have a ton of comments because it is, it's very short, but it's well done. I mean,
Yeah, I thought Casey Hill's cadence with the instrumentals was so interesting, and I really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, I loved the transition into Everything is Peaceful Love. It was so well done. I love a good transition.
Well, let's just do that then. Let's pop into a clip of Everything is Peaceful Love. So yeah, this, in my opinion, this is kind of still a take with that kind of electronica. Like, you hear those kind of weird glitches kind of pop in and out, which kind of makes it just organically more fun, and like kind of shows like I'm on my way out of the dark cave that was sABLE, and like now we're gonna have a good time. Now we're just gonna enjoy ourselves a little bit. I love soul music, and so this is just so much more soulful. It has that groove to it, that swing to it, that I think is something that I'm not as well versed in from Bon Iver, and I think it kind of is a little bit more of him experimenting outside of his old stuff. When I say like this is a really good combination of the things that he's done long ago and recently ago, this is kind of a little bit of a new vibe that he's injected into this album specifically to show still a little bit of growth for Bon Iver. That, you know what I mean? When I say like this is a perfect way to know about both sides of Bon Iver, it is, but he still injected a little bit of something new and fresh and unique that he hasn't really done in other albums. And this soulful kind of also gospel kind of feel is something that's kind of a fresh take for them. And I really appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, I made a note. I talking about so much in this. I said I really loved just the way it felt, but the best part of this to me was just how interesting the mix was here. And like I don't want to be like think about this specific line, because I almost want everybody, if you're thinking you can listen to us talk about this, like even if it's just this one track, as opposed to like you need to go listen to it. Like there's so many just like nuggets of just incredible blending and playfulness, and it creates just this euphoric, ethereal feeling throughout the whole thing that I really enjoyed, and that really kind of helped set the tone. Like to me, this is like the leading track on sABLE, or not sABLE, on fABLE. I can't, but it just really kind of set the tone moving forward, that it is going to be like more joyous, more celebratory, but still kind of moving forward the whole time. And I just really love the mix. It was so well done.
You're gonna make fun of me because this is going back to like my deets, but whatever that beat was, the boo-doo, like that, I don't know how to do it, but in the background it made me so happy. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like it's just it's so playful. Everything in it is so
fun.
playful and so light, but there's so much there that you can focus on, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. I also loved that vibe where like he's not saying like everything's fixed, but it's like let's just enjoy the moment for now. I loved that. It's like save the sad stuff for parting days. We're good for right now. Let's
Everything's peaceful right now, love. Like
yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. And I needed the tone switch up, or else I would have.
Yeah, you're going to dehydrate yourself.
Crying uncontrollably for a whole podcast.
Also, one of the things that I did note, did anybody else kind of feel like a bit of a Prince vibe on here? Like,
Yes.
I honestly, genuinely really pictured if Prince was around today that, like, Prince could have grabbed this and also done it, especially with, like, that distorted guitar solo at the end. I was like, this is, like, feeling very, like, Prince doing a ballad style something, and I loved that inspiration that came from it. Whether or not that was where the inspiration came from or not, I'll always be a huge Prince fan forever.
Make a note about that. I think later on this, but we can talk about it now because I got really intrigued because it gave me a lot of Prince vibes. I went and looked, and one of Prince's bassists, Mono Neon, is on 2 tracks on this album, and it stands out so well as that is him when you realize
on
that
this
and make
track
that
as well.
I don't know exactly which 2. I think it is. I think it's this one and I'll Be There. I think are the 2. Are my guesses. Now I could be wrong, but
those are the 2 places where I wrote Prince on my notes.
And it very much so kind of like called me and pulled me to that. That is, I think, the only thing that I really like. Actually, was like, let me go Google this real quick because I didn't want to.
I'm so impressed you pulled that out.
Like that's actually wild.
I loved it, and it's like it was because the bass lines just. There was something about them in both the mixes of those songs, and we'll talk about that one a little bit more later, that just hit and really gave it that kind of like Princey vibe to me that I had to go check.
It
so
has
to
to
know
be.
that like
genuinely,
I was so
I can
proud.
send you guys my notes. My hands are here. I can show you guys my notes. I said, does anyone get a feeling of like a deconstructed Prince feeling here?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had Prince do this in the 80s, it would work. And then I'll Be There. I have, again, it's pop, but in that more gospel soul sense that I could see a Prince type wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was so cool, and I wasn't sure if anyone else was gonna think that, so I was like, I'll just hold on to that until my note later.
Say
but
those
like,
things.
I'm so glad. Like, God, it was so cool.
Dope. Just remember,
so impressive.
One of us went to university, the other one's just brilliant. So what can I say?
Let me know if I should get my money back, y'all.
I got an art degree.
Which I didn't even look at the album covers, but
yeah, right. Like you said that, I was like, I mean, I did notice like the one album cover that was on Spotify when I listened, like, but that is cool. Like,
that's the shit I pick up on.
Listen, I can't fault you for that. Like I said, if you put an album together, I want there to be some cohesiveness. I want for there to feel like there's transitions that are thought out and stuff like that. Really just amplifies and like bumps something to the next level for me. The amount of thought and artistry that goes into it all. Delightful.
Yeah,
100%.
love it.
Let's get gritty with it. A little Bon Iver, Walk Home. Moving forward. Let's keep progressing.
Hit the gritty on them.
Mel, did they sample you on that?
I didn't even. Dude, I love that voice filter so much. And also, a sexy Bon Iver doesn't happen. And I'm so pumped we got it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, to start things off, you get this gritty kind of like drum beat and like this super filtered sample that might be Mel, actually, after the noise you just made. Although it turns out it wasn't a filter, that's just your sound. It turns out, didn't know that. But like to break in on this like really like hyper soulful melody kind of all the way through, like almost bordering on like R&B, like as it like kind of dives into it. This is even the most R&B I think that this big album gets. I think there's another track that gets kind of even like touches even further on it, but this piano just kind of keeps going in, and like this really soulful kind of like chord split between like it's over the top, and then you got these mandolin spots that are really rootsy that still like play into it. It almost is hard to like kind of try to define it. Like it's an unlimited side shape to put it into a circle, like a circle hole. Like it's just, there's so many different spots to try to even categorize this as anything other than just Bon Iver is almost impossible. Like it's crazy. And then the chorus had that like penetrating bass line that kicks in and just like punches like the rest of the messages all the way out with it. I didn't think we were going to get a soultronica, funktronic Bon Iver in 2025, but we did, and I thought it's so cool. It is wildly cool. And then like to still have like this kind of gospel like undertone throughout all of it, it hits super right for me.
All of these different elements, like you've got like some soul elements, the R&B, the praise gospel, like like after a while, usually I would start being like, maybe that's enough slices. Like maybe we shouldn't take any more. Like let's trade them. But like it's so well done, and you still, like you said, you get like some of the mandolin, and like all the layering of this. It really pulls in everything we've heard on like fABLE so far, almost like paying homage to that, but it still isn't stopping it from doing its own thing, which feels very thematically appropriate here too. And it's so good.
He took you on a date to a pizza parlor, literally ordered a slice of everything, put it together, made it taste fantastic, and then walked you home afterwards. And you probably let him in. That's.
Are you kidding?
Do you want to come up?
This song got me all horned up. I was not expecting it.
It's such a good lush love ballad of sorts. Like it was really good.
3 songs ago, you're bawling your eyes out, and 3 later, you're like
taking you on an emotional journey.
Is it getting warm or?
Is it getting warmer? Or is it my sunburn?
I went through so much. I also really, other than it just being sexy as fuck, I loved the line. And if I get too high sometimes, it's like I've just learned to walk. I was like, same, bro. Same. I can relate. But anyway. Yeah, I loved this one so much.
It's amazing. It was I think this very well could be my favorite. You know, one thing that I usually do when I handwrite my notes instead of type them up is I also put like a little heart beside my favorite tracks. And
That's cute.
I don't do that because I'm not handwriting them, so I don't.
You could put an emoji.
This one very well could have been one of my favorite tracks.
I'm just hearing him keep complaining and blaming that he didn't handwrite this time.
I didn't handwrite it, although my hands do feel a lot more. It's fine. Also, Mel, your microphone actually picked up and put it away from your face.
What?
Huh? Oh, no, that's just your headset. Never mind.
Oh yeah, my microphone's over here. This is just because my AirPods aren't working.
You got really quiet there for a moment, and I wasn't sure. You were just talking about getting horned up, and then it sounded like you were talking from all the way back here.
I'd probably just leave.
Really nervous about where you were going. It was. We had to figure that out. Yeah, you did that, not me.
I plead the fifth. I'm not involved in this.
Moving onward. Let's get into day 1 with Dijon and Flock of Dimes. Let's give it a little listen.
I had taken all that I can take, and it got bad enough. I thought that I would leave. Well, I wish you could take that right on. All that shit that rips you right up. And you know that we've been taught all this from day one. From day one.
I thought this was such a perfect way to blend early. Like you have like kind of more natural vocals. He's not doing crazy filtering on, I don't think, himself as much, but the experimental sounds were so 22 a million, and I was like, yes.
This was wild.
So fun.
I never anticipated when it's like all of this album started that we would end up like heavily into like the praise music realm.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's also not, because I don't know how much praise music incorporates this glitch style beats, like sampled vocals over top of everything. And for me, I really like when Bon Iver is in his like lower range, like when he's singing. So this sits in the lower range. So I kind of appreciated this one a little bit more from the vocal performance side of things. But it's just like one of those things. You still have this again, just penetrating bass line that kind of like comes through like all of it. You weave in and out like Flock of Dimes and Dijon kind of all throughout the whole song as well. And like all of their vocals kind of, it creates more distortion because of the way they're weaving it out, but it also like kind of adds to the gospel sense of it, where it sounds like multiple people singing
It
simultaneously.
almost sounds like he's got a choir behind him.
But like grabbing one of them at a time and hard cutting them in different spots, singing the same song all the way through. It was just a really, really unique take on what kind of could just turn into another gospel song.
And it's such a risk to take, but it pays off here so well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hugely.
that experimentation is just so cool. What a cool effect.
Yeah. Mel?
He just continues to amaze me, man. I don't understand how he does it, but I fucking love it. I don't know. That's all I got.
At least she's not crying, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm
thank
glad about
God.
that.
Whew. I didn't think I was actually gonna cry, but damn it, yeah. Couldn't control myself.
So that takes us from day one to from, because that was tough for me to get through there. So let's give a little let's listen.
Can't just be yourself from now on. Don't let trouble just take my hand in your time. I am ready to run from fear. I'm from somewhere far from here. So tell me when the coast is clear. Wanna kiss you here from here. Can I take another year? Must I be so damn severe? From the valley to the pier. I'd be sad before we could become.
This might be my favorite on the album.
Oh,
What? Are you? Do you hate it?
this is my least favorite on the album.
Wow.
Right. Whoa.
I thought we took such like a classic rock like detour here, but that fucking guitar in the bridge did so much for me.
It's not bad.
loved
It's
it.
again, I'm for sure not saying that it's bad in any way, shape, or form. But it is definitely like way more pop rocky than I think I want now at this point. It feels like such a left turn that I don't know needed to be there. It slipped away from the electronica vibe that it was just starting to get me like really big into. I don't love Bon Iver's high octaves singing. Like I prefer his
rude.
deeper stuff.
That's rude.
I prefer
love-
his deeper stuff. This felt a bit too poppy. It's just this was easily my least favorite track by like a long shot. It's a really high bar. So like it's still a really good song. Just this pulled me out a little bit. I'm like, oh. I was bummed out by it because of how good everything else has been so far, that this one, still good, just was nowhere near as good as the rest of them for me.
I can see where you're coming from. For me, I think it worked really well. The fact that it is different, but you know, there's moments of like talking about like where you've come from and different stuff, and like bringing in some of those elements of like maybe music that has been influential in some way. I can really get behind. I also just really enjoy that kind of music anyways, so it kind of helped. For me, I just, the way that they've balanced and kind of interwoven the play between his vocal mix and the band, where you get this like interplay and echo with the guitar and just, it's so, I loved it. I was eating it up. I don't think it's necessarily my favorite on the whole album, but it's definitely not my least. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a top for me. That change of pace was so fun for me. I loved it so, and the guitar alone, it got me. I was in.
I can appreciate the guitar. I can appreciate the instruments, but it's just, I was on a train, and the train was just like, okay, you got to switch trains now. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Fair.
I'm good on this one.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where we are. But now we get to get back on my train, okay? So screw you guys. Let's get some funk back up in this. with some I'll Be There. So let's give it a shot.
Don't go on about it, stuck on standby. Ain't no riddle for me. Where your head at? How we thought about it. Nothing doesn't have to be. You can't have all my love for free. I will keep the fire in me, even if it takes all goddamn night.
Nice.
Dope.
I thought opening with the chorus was really interesting here. Yeah, my first note was just, ooh, funky.
Honestly, very valid comment because it's very similar to one of mine. Yeah.
I actually did write in all caps, here's that soul funk back, baby.
Yeah.
I wrote the same thing. We got more sax, we got more organ, right? Again, this is still a little bit poppier than I usually like from them, but I like it's more gospel soul than it is pop, and that for me it'll always be a top thing for me. You know, like one of my favorite albums like over the last 2 years was Gabriel's. I don't know if you know Gabriel's at all. They're a gospel band, but they incorporate just so much more R&B and soul into it, and like the whole album is basically stuff like this. It was one of my favorite albums like in the last 2 years. Amazing. So this was huge. I really appreciated the fact that they kind of dance with all of the vocals, kind of like there's multiple vocalists obviously in Bon Iver. The lead singer kind of like for the most part being Vernon, but there's multiple vocalists there, and they kind of all have their chance to show off a little bit on this track too, which I thought was really cool. Again, kind of brings that gospel vibe together when everybody has their input into it. It gives it like a choir feel, but also not letting them overshine one another, which if you're listening to this as a part of the whole podcast, we might talk about at length in the near future moving forward. So I honestly could flip a coin between either I'll Be There and Everything Is Peaceful Love, of which is my favorite song on this double LP, double EP, one album. I don't know whatever he wants to call it. You tell me. But
I'm not gonna lie, my notes are a lot less helpful than y'all's were. My note was funk, dig it. Second note was love this bass line. Third note was it really reminds me of like a Prince bass line. Fourth note was I feel like this has to have some Prince influence. 5 was I Googled and it does. And it's me just writing about that. I was so invested. Like it's such a good piece though. Like it really was well done.
That's awesome. Yeah, other than ooh, funky and like calling out the opening with the chorus, I was just like, this is the most straightforward he's ever been with his lyrics so far. Yeah. And it's like wild to me, like that I don't have to actually analyze what he's saying. But
it's like I appreciated lyrically, like to be that clear and just very like blunt, like I'll be there. Like that's so powerful and really like makes that more poignant almost in this.
100%. Well, without waiting too long, we move into If Only I Could Wait, which is the following track with Danielle Haim, which the whole creation of the album was actually kind of influenced about some work that Bon Iver was doing with Haim in their studio. Danielle Haim is actually a part of a 3-sister band called Haim, Haim. So they were doing a little bit of work together and kind of inspired a lot of this album. So it was like, I need to have you on this to work on it together. Haim has been honestly on a lot of projects the last little bit. Like you could see her popping up in the alt sphere all over the place, or pardon me, them popping up all over the place. So keep an eye out for them. I have a feeling like they're going to be something to pay attention to moving forward in the last little bit. But here is If Only I Could Wait.
If only you could wait, I ain't about your pace yet. I take the steps stage, and they hit me with the rays now. But if I could only pray in the blades of a northern love, I'd bend another straight with decaying other ways now.
If only we could wait, or is it folded either way now? The karma needs a way, but is it only either way now?
Cool. We went to outer space. This was honestly, again, really deconstructed electronica. This is for sure the most electronic sound on the album too, and this is when I kind of like clued in. I'm like, okay, this sounds like a combination of all of Bon Iver's eras, kind of all the way through, plus some funk, soul, gospel vibes into it. So again, if this feels like more of like the more recent side of Bon Iver that I appreciated, it's just kind of this amalgamation of everything. I loved the scale like kind of piano melody on it. It wasn't my favorite track, but again, that's a pretty high bar. This was kind of on the lower end of tracks for me because, again, a little bit too space agey kind of sound, but I was fine with it, and it's a fun track.
Yeah, this one started to almost get like a little bit more emotional again because it felt, the vibe I was getting from it was like they're getting to the part where they're going to have to part ways and they don't want to yet. And they're trying so hard to sit in that moment. And I just thought that was like, yeah, it kind of like we were so happy. We're in such a good spot. And now I'm kind of like sad again, a little gut wrenching. But like there's still a little bit of hopefulness there.
Like for me, Danielle's vocals made this like track. I mean, just the quality that we got in difference between all these other pieces, but that mix of like that almost like mournful yearning a little bit of like, God, I wish like if I could wait like what we could be, what this could be, and that interplay. Just it really hit hard, like and really just kind of had me like recalling moments where like I've had that in the past, you know. I think to some extent we all have of like, if only I could wait, if only I could do this one thing, if only like this was different, you know. And it really was very like, it was just a very heartfelt kind of ballad almost.
Yeah, that was very well put. Everything I wanted to say that I didn't know how to. Thank you.
I got you. That's what you pay me the big bucks for.
Well, now that you have and haven't said it, respectively, there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm, in case you guys were wondering. This was an interesting track because it started off kind of R&B-esque, and that's kind of the direction that I thought it was going to go in. But then, so it does this cool thing of stepping in and out with the melody, kind of matching him vocally the whole way through. The melody comes in at the exact same time and takes the exact same steps that he does almost every single time, which I thought was really cool. I liked it a lot. Otherwise, it was just kind of that beat and just kind of more atmospheric sound behind everything, which again, I thought it was a really, really cool way to put that all together, to actually mix that. The mandolin still is an interesting vibe because then, like I said, it felt R&B, and then it starts to shift over into, again, kind of a folkier grassroots. This almost goes like country sound, in my opinion, like when we were listening to it, which to be like, oh, I think this is going to turn R&B, and then to be like, okay, maybe it was more country. I don't really know what I went through there. It felt like such a weird transition going through all of it. While again, all that's happening is just things changing with the atmosphere behind it and him singing at the same time as the melody doing the same thing all the way through. it genre bended kind of midway through for me, which was really cool. The fact that I could start off thinking it was going to go one direction and then it end up being a completely different direction, even though it didn't really change anything about it, I thought was really interesting and like just shows just how multicolored the song could be. It, again, doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It kind of just perfectly blends both together to the point that I was confused what I ended up just listening to.
Yeah, I think honestly you put the note that I had better than I probably could here. You could tell that this was kind of leading to the wrap up of the whole album. And for me, it was really satisfying because you see some of these different influences and yet we're still picking up yet another one with like that kind of country feel. And you're getting these callbacks, like the little saxophone notes or all these different little licks that you're getting throughout that kind of nod back to the journey we went through on this whole album. And it was really interesting. And it took us to a really cool place to be wrapping up, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was such a good way to just like, I know we still have the closing track technically, but this is what really put the bow on it and sealed it for me and made it feel complete. Like back in Things Behind Things Behind Things, there's a line, and when it comes to time to check and rearrange shit, and in his final verse, I've really no more shame now, things are arranged. Like he's worked through it. It's callback from the first song. Like it was just, I loved it. I thought this was such a such a good way to end it. You mean second
song, right?
Well, technically second. We're not.
Just want to confirm.
We're trying to meet you on your level now.
Yeah. When he actually says something, it goes back to his first points. Also, I felt like it was almost kind of bringing back that manic repetition from the beginning too, which was interesting. And like I could leave behind the snow. Is he finally gonna like come out of isolation and leave the snow behind? Go to some warmer weather, bro.
I'm such a hater for like overly repeating something, but the fact that he was able to repeat as much as he was in this, and yet I still wasn't upset about it because it was almost weaving and tying it all together to like, if nothing else, make a note that like there's this rhythm that goes throughout. There is this like link that goes throughout, the story that goes throughout. Like, I can't even be mad. Like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cool. And that takes us to the end of the album. Kidding. Au revoir. It's another instrumental track to close it all out. It's just a pleasant little, I didn't grab a clip of it because there's not really a whole lot to it. It's just this pleasant little instrumental track. It does feel like an artistic little moment to close out kind of both the dark side of sABLE and the kind of lighter side of fABLE together. It's just kind of a pleasant soundscape. It's not like something that I'm going to add to the playlist because there's nothing really there, but
it was nice callbacks. Like Mel said, like the last one really kind of put the bow on the package, and to me this is him like sending it off to end up making it to us, to be uploaded, to be distributed. And I don't know, it really felt almost like the culmination of a love letter by the time that we got to this point. Like, it was amazing.
I love it.
He also in that one Spotify interview I ended up listening to, he actually says that in all of his past projects, he's always had projects that he's been working on in the background, and this is the first time that he's not actively working on anything. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a goodbye, but it means that he doesn't know what the future brings. We might not get any more music from him. And if that's the case, I've actually shocked with how content I am with that after this, because I thought it was perfect.
It was beautiful. It's this whole project was just, if you were going to leave on any note, this would be such a perfect way to do it instead of, and you guys will hear our takes on it on Wednesday, a Mr. Bruce Springsteen who has made a decision to reappear in everybody's life for absolutely no
We have gone on an emotional journey this podcast.
God, we have.
And y'all don't even know yet because you hear out of order of how we record.
But anyways, some in conclusions for you guys.
Overall, I said this was such a great and just emotional sonic journey. Definitely for me makes a, like, if you're picky and you're like, I only listen if someone's insistent, like, this is a must listen. Definitely am a new fan, whether that means that I'm joining at just the right or wrong time, you know? And for me, I put this as a 9.6 out of 10.
This was everything I could have ever asked for from him. I gave it a 9.8. I want to give it a 10, but I figured whoever actually gets a 10. So I gave it a 9.8. This is perfect. It's like one of my favorite albums I've listened to ever. Ever.
So, like, for me, all in all, I enjoyed, like, this album thoroughly. Like I mentioned before, this album kind of felt like the best parts of all the different eras of Bon Iver compiled into, like, a sweet 2-disc album, which says a lot. Like, it's not a greatest hits, it's a greatest sounds and style with new music to attach to it. And I thought that was a really unbelievably cool way to put it all together. That's awesome, and I like that a lot. Between the darker, more melodic sounds of sABLE, kind of in that Skinny Love era of Bon Iver, to the poppier electronica elements he put into fABLE, it really kind of emphasized, like, some of his more recent works. I think it did an awesome job of just kind of telling the whole story from beginning to end. Not just the story that he was talking about in this album, but just the story of him just in general and over his whole career, which does kind of give it a little bit of like a, are you saying goodbye?
Yeah.
Are we sure? Are we not sure? You're not allowed to cry while I'm doing my conclusion, Mel. Stop it.
No, I'm good now.
What I did like, though, is it did feel, the thing that gives me promise is it did feel like, again, injecting a little bit more of that soul gospel kind of sound into it makes me feel like this isn't goodbye. It is just evolution to maybe something a little bit different, being like, hey, so this is kind of what I've done before. This is kind of the ideas that I have. We're going to close the book on some of the stuff that I've done before and maybe progress into this next chapter of
like
who I am.
Like a finality of this era.
Exactly, right? Just kind of closing another book on another era of Bon Iver, which, I mean, he's done multiple times now at this point. So I don't think anybody has ever left a Bon Iver album and been like, is he for sure going to make another song? Because, like, that's genuinely every single time you hear it and it closes out, because he's so good at that storytelling. He usually closes the book, and you do wonder to yourself, you're like, maybe that was the last one. I can't tell for sure, because that's how he is able to handle emotions as a human being. It's remarkable. I think this is just another great job by an artist who's just continuing to not really miss, and he keeps adding more dimensions and more creativity in a way that isn't repetitive, and it's insanely individualistic at the same time. I'm a huge fan of it. For me, it was a 9.4.
We're all right there, yeah.
This is an instant classic type of album.
Yeah.
It really is. If it wasn't
for
From, I think I'm all in on it.
If it wasn't for Tinnitus, if it, I wouldn't. I didn't. I promise. The like 12-second thing didn't. I'm picking. I'm picking. Don't hate me. Oh
wow.
But yeah, that is Bon Iver's sABLE fABLE. Thank you so much. Do you guys agree with us? Do you guys hate everything that we said about it? Are you angry that Mel cries during podcasts? Please talk about it in the comments. Let us know. There were a lot of glassy eyes today, and if you were saying you guys shouldn't cry in the middle of podcasting, I might comment and agree with you, but it would at least start the conversation. So please, by all means, reach out to us. Let us know what your thoughts are. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Peace.
3, 2, 1.